Hola everybody, welcome to Chow Time. I am Spike Spencer. This is my kitchen, my show, and my shoes that I'm wearing. Okay, today we are going to be making Asian pork meatballs. What makes them Asian? What makes them pork? What makes them meatballs? We're going to discuss all that and more today on Chow Time. Okay, we're going to start with our ground pork here. But while we're doing this, I'm going to start something up over here. Why am I starting over here, you might ask? Well, I have some chicken broth. I'm going to pour all that chicken broth in. There we go. Pour that chicken broth in. Whoop, whoop. All right. Chicken broth. Why am I doing that? I will tell you. So when you're making meatballs, you've got to cook those meatballs, right? Some people will put them on a sheet pan or put them in a skillet. I found that doing the meatballs with in a broth of some kind, it lets them keep their shape a little better. Because once you put it in and the water starts moving around, so you get this circular action. I like that. Plus, I think the broth adds flavor to the meatballs, which. Why is it going to add flavor? Because, well, we've got chicken broth in there, yes. I'm going to throw in a little bit of hondashi, which is bonito fish, flaky stock sort of thing. I'm going to pop that in there because I want that little hit of flavor to just infuse itself into these meatballs. And we're going to have garlic and pork and 5 spice powder. This isn't Japanese, it isn't Chinese, it's kind of a fusion. I got some different stuff in there. And we're gonna have fun with it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is let's chop up some garlic. And I wanna chop everything up pretty fine because these meatballs, we're just gonna mix them all up. We're gonna get messy here. And meatballs are meant to be messy, guys. Now, if I were doing, let's say, Asian meatballs, I am doing Asian meatballs. What if I was doing regular meatballs for like Italian, different spices, but the same basic idea. I do this with the meatballs, with meatloaf, hamburgers, kinda. I don't always do quite the same with hamburgers, but sometimes I might. If I want to thicken them up a little bit. You'll see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to chop up the garlic fairly fine. And it's fine to have a nice hunk of garlic in a meatball. It's not going to hurt anybody. But I do want to get this garlic all through as best I can. We're going to mix it up pretty well and make a bunch of meatballs and have a good old time. All right, throw some garlic in there. Throw a little bit of garlic in there. Throw more garlic in here. Garlic, done. And we got some fresh garlic happening. It smells wunderbar, fantastico, wonderful, bon. Just downright good, y'all. Tasty. Okay, let's do some onion. Now, again, very thin slices of onion. I'm just going to beat the crap out of it. Now I could shave the onion in if I wanted to do that. Totally do that, not a problem. If I cut it very, very thin, like that, now you got real thin onion in there. I want to pop some of that in there. I want it to be nice and flavorful. There we go. I've got about a pound of ground pork. This is sustainably done and as nice as I can get it, as close to organic as I can possibly get. Humane, etc. We try to do that as best we can. It's hard to do with pork, though. It's hard to say organic pork, but I love pork. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, but pork, oof. Yeah, I know all the arguments. And my retort to that is bacon. Bacon. That's my retort to most arguments. You know, I don't like the Republicans. I don't like the Democrats. Bacon. Bacon. Take that, you. Sucker. All right. So we have some onion. We have some garlic. I'm going to put a little bit of green onion in there. I'm gonna chop that down really nice because the green onion adds that. For me, that's so much Asian flair. It's that or Asian or Cajun or I mean it's just spring onion is so good. But I always have in all my Asian food there's always green onion. Nice, lots of green onion. Like for example in Vietnamese like pho or something like that. Oh man, we have all kinds of goodies in there. Let's hit with some salt. We're gonna hit with one egg. We need an egg. Why do we need the egg? The egg for binder. Binders. We're talking about binders. I'm going to put some breadcrumbs. Binders and fillers. That's what we're talking about, guys. Binders and fillers. And I'll put a little touch of arrowroot or potato starch in there. Binders, fillers. And seasoning-wise, I'm going to hit it with some ginger. I already got some smashed up ginger here. Normally I do that myself, but you know, it's a show. I got things to do. I'm a dad, you know. 5 spice powder, which I love. I'm gonna hit a good amount of 5 spice. That just hits that floral sweetness. Oof, pretty good. Is there anything else we need here? I don't think so. It is time to get messy. Now the problem with that is I didn't plan for that. For getting my hands all messy, but we're going to do it. Oh, before we start mixing up our meatballs, I highly recommend you take a plate, hit it with a little bit of oil, and do that because once you put these meatballs on a plate, it can stick and just wreck it, and then you'd be very sad. Now, if you can do this with one hand, that's great, but you're not going to be able to do it with one hand because you're going to be making meatballs. And if you try to form a meatball with one hand, well, you're amazing. Good for you. But what are the chances of that happening? Not great. All right. Now, this egg is a little bit bigger than I thought, so it's kind of a little more wet than I expected. So I'm going to add some more breadcrumbs to soak up. Now I'm using gluten-free breadcrumbs. They're panko style, but they're gluten-free, so they're more rounded, and I'm fine with that. Okay, that's better. I'll dry that out a hair more. All right, now this, the broth I have on high, it is going to boil, and I want it to boil. So when I put the meatballs in there, that shock keeps them tight. Keeps the meatballs tight so we can get those all in there in a nice rounding formation. We like that. Now, see, a version of this would be lion's head meatballs. I say Asian, it's very similar. I don't really know what makes the lion head meatball different, but there's a book I was reading a long time ago about all the Asian cuisines, and there was a lion head. It was very similar to this. I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that. One other thing you could do, if you wanted to, so now we're going to form these, by the way. And there you go. That meatball. All right. I'm going to keep doing that over and over and over again. That's really it. I want to keep it about that size. You want to try to keep them as uniform as you can. It's a little bit bigger, but there you go. I find that it's kind of difficult to make meatballs or meatloaf or anything if the meat is really cold. Like if you just take it out of the fridge, my hands are all like, oh God, no! It burns with cold. Yeah, do it. Yeah. It is unpleasant to say the least. But another thing you could do with this, you could add. I mean, obviously, with all my recipes, you can add whatever the hell you want. But with this, what could be good is pineapple. Adding a little pineapple in there, that will keep it nice and a little fruity action in there, which is lovely. Lovely, lovely. There we go. So I made the first one small. The others are a little bit bigger because I got a lot to do here. A lot of them in here. And what I'm going to do with these, you can serve them on their own if you wanted to. Like get these cooked up a little bit, and then put them on a skewer, and then pop them on the grill. with, like I said, pineapple rings and stuff like that. Grill that up. You got a great Asian, meatball kebabs. Those are fabulous. That can not be a problem at all. You could serve them by themselves with maybe a little sweet and sour sauce base. Put it in the bottom of the bowl, and you've got this lovely little meatball action. Or you can put it in a soup, which is probably what I'm going to do today. I've got a soup that I'm going to be making, which is a cabbage and beets and kind of a borscht-ish sort of thing. I just kind of go with what I've got and play with that. There we go. So the broth here is boiling nicely. And since it's boiling, it is going to cook these pretty quick. I'm going to let them go in there for a few minutes. It'll get pretty solidly cooked, I think. I want them to go as... You want them to cook through. You don't want to cook them to death. You don't have to. I mean, it's very forgiving. Meatballs are very, very forgiving. You can just, you can overcook them and they'll still be fine. See, these are already getting cooked on the outside. Okay, so then we've got that first batch in. I'm going to do another batch here, and I think my editor will go ahead and do this on a speedy cut thing, and then when they're done, I will pull them out. There we go. Okay, just a note. So if you can see how they are, it is really boiling. This water is boiling. And it is moving. So it is keeping things flowing. This is pretty solid. Let's see. How are we looking here? So I'm going to give it a little push. It's still quite mushy on the inside. So we're going to give this batch a little bit longer. And then we'll put these in, and there we go. So then I will be back, and we will finish this off. Okay, we're finishing up with our meatballs here. We've done the second batch. And it is boiling nicely. We're going to take that off here. Okay, because we're going to finish this up to where it's an actual dish rather than just, hey, look at all the meatballs. How cool. I'm going to fire up another pan while we're doing this. So let's take the meatballs out. Let me show you. So I've got all the meatballs, and see how they held their shape nicely? So they've got a nice shape, and they've got all that flavor that came in from the broth and the flavor that comes out of them into the broth. So I've got this really nice flavored broth here that I'm going to use for my another soup. So I'll use that as the base for a soup that those will go in. But I want to save some of them, and let's make a little dish with them. So let's take a look in the middle. I'm going to cut one in half here. Ow, hot. There we go. So it's cooked all the way through, and it's ready to go. So now you've got a base. You can freeze these and do whatever you want with those. However, what we're going to do, it's going to be fun. First, I'm going to take a bite. Oh, yeah. Oh, really good flavor. It's got garlic. It's got ginger. It's got a little 5 spice to it. And the hondashi that I used, the bonito stock base, along with the chicken base, added a really nice depth of flavor. Beautiful. So let's take a few of these and make a fun little dish. I'm going to take these. I take 3, maybe 4. Great. I'm going to sizzle those up. See if I can get some nice brown to the outside of them. And we will take a sweet and sour sauce. Now, I've been playing around with sweet and sour sauces to see which one's the best. And I haven't really chosen yet, but I mean, this one, that is deep, it is rich. All right, we're getting the brown, we're getting the brown. Take a little bit of this. There we go. So I'm going to make a little bed of sweet and sour sauce that they can sit in. Nothing crazy. Just a little bit. a wee bit, if we are saying that. Move this around a little bit. Nice. Flip it over, flip it over. Get some brown. Nice, nice. Put this on the side. Now we want some garnish, of course. Fresh green onion on the top. Pretty, pretty. Oh, smelling good. Keep it going, come on. I hear you. I hear you sizzling. I see what you're doing. I approve. Nicely. Trying to get it browned all around if I can. As best I can. Move the side. There we go. All right. Whenever you have air bubbles in your sauce or any of your dishes, give it a little pop, 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 pop. See if you can pop that bubble. Or I'll pop it like that. Stab it to death. All right. I will take a little sliver of this as well for presentation, a little pop of color, and a little bit of a squeeze of the lemon. There we go. All right. Nice little sear. We're good to go. So let's plate these with a little bit of the... Ooh, hello. How are you? Thanks for stopping by. A little bit of that char on top. So this would be a great little appetizer to start with. Fun, fun, fun. Oh, look at that. Yes. Pretty. Okay. We're going to hit this with the onions. And then our little piece of lemon. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, that is some Asian meatballs, and I finished it off with a little sweet and sour sauce, a little garnish, and it is good to go. That is a fantastic little dish for you guys. Check that out. That's nice. But the main thing is to remember that we've got the base here. You make these up just to this point after you take them out of the broth, and you can freeze them. And you can use them for anything you want. But this way I went with the Asian motif as a little appetizer. So that's very nice. So also one thing I didn't say for kid-friendly stuff is I have green powder that I make out of all of my, like beet greens or kale or broccoli leaf and all the dry things. So I have this nice little powder. I will usually mix that in or get some chopped spinach frozen, get all that water out of that spinach first, chop it up real fine, and put that in the meatballs so that the kids will get some extra greens. Ha ha! Good thinking. I'm pretty sure these would be kid-tested, kid-approved, and wife-tested and wife-approved. So I hope you enjoyed this. This has been Asian pork meatballs on Chow time. I'm Spike Spencer saying thank you for coming, and let's eat.